Do you want more success, more growth, more results? Then it's time for the Boundless Success Accelerator from the Modern Observer Group. This isn't your average coaching program. It's where top performers come to dominate. Weekly group sessions, on-demand coaching, a community that's got your back, and a power-packed library of tools to supercharge your business and career. No more excuses, no more waiting. Get in, level up, and start building the life you've been dreaming about. Visit us at modernobserver.com/boundlesssuccess to join today. Let's get you to the next level.
And welcome to another edition of Carnivore Bites. I'm your host, Jeff Sherman, along with Dr. Eric Lopkin. Pardon me, Eric, but I have to sneeze. Ha 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 ha. Just kidding. Why don't we just throw it to Dr. Lopkin? The pardon. The pardon from hell. Is that too over the top?
Yeah, Biden did more damage with this pardon than I would have believed possible. I mean, first of all,
can I just interject one thing?
Go ahead.
Just one little thing, but when you say that more than possible, don't you have to refer back to what Obama said about him? I just had to throw that in there.
Yes,
I had to. Sorry,
never underestimate Joe's ability to F things up. Well, he certainly did it here. Start with the fact that he spent a year swearing up and down that he was not going to pardon his son. I mean, honestly, if I was Karine Jean-Pierre, I would be so pissed at him.
Whoa, you're assuming she has a brain. No,
well,
let's rephrase that. If you were a spokesperson that had a functioning IQ, you would quit. But she doesn't fit into that category.
No, clearly not.
There you go. No.
The damage that he did to the credibility, not just his own credibility, but to the party as a whole. I mean, we heard James Carville going off about it. We heard Jon Stewart was absolutely hysterical about it.
Yes, he was.
You know, the credibility is gone. You know, there is nothing at this point that the Democrats can take the high ground on. But
wait, you said something. This is really good because I think you're more than 100% correct. I think it's scorched earth. And I'm not, it's not hyperbole. I mean, the party of democracy, well, that's gone. The party of integrity, they got shit. I mean, I don't even know how you build back better. No, how do you rebuild that? You tell me.
Yeah, honestly,
I don't know. I mean, it's going to take years.
The simple fact that in his statement, he said that the Justice Department had been politicized. Okay, Trump has been arguing this for years. Biden has just admitted it. But if Biden really felt that way, it was his Justice Department. He could have very easily have fired Merrick Garland over all of this. But he let it go and, it's all political. So credibility is shot. But
I gotta ask you I gotta ask you this question though. What happens, and this is an honest question, what happens? I mean, he's not gonna die, I get all that stuff. When he returns back from Africa, I think there's going to be a hailstorm of incoming. And as soon as he gets off the plane, the gloves are off because, let's face it, the traditional media, corporate media, is in the back pocket of the Democrats. He harmed them greatly. Your thoughts on that? I think it's going to be a barrage. He won't be able to set foot out of the White House.
he made them all look bad. I don't know if there's really going to be a barrage against him, though, because there have been a lot of comments from both elected Democrats and the Democratic media that it basically seems like he's already foregone the presidency and given it up to Trump. So he's basically useless. I mean, he made the pardon, jumped on a plane to Africa, where apparently he didn't know where he was. He fell asleep during the summit. I think they're just wiping their hands of him. But the
okay, one thing I disagree on this one.
Okay.
Because one thing about liberals, and we've talked about this in terrestrial radio and in Carnivore Bites, our podcast, is they don't take defeat lightly. Republicans can, suck it up and fuck, have a couple martini. No. They're pissed. This guy effed up an entire party.
Yes,
They're not going to let this. They're not going to say, "Oh, okay, Uncle Joe." It's because, first of all, there's no downside. It's a way for them to do their job without any repercussions. I think he's going to go into hiding. And I think you had a great point and something I'd love for you to
what do you mean? What do you mean go into hiding? He's been in hiding since the election. This pardon was the first time anybody's heard from him.
No, he did go into the Amazon jungle. Just kidding. No, I think he's been in hiding since 2020, and I'm not really kidding with you. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, not technically, but he hasn't done a press conference in 2 years. The thing is, totally, with the damage he has done, and the Democrats who are willing and complicit in all this, there will be history books written, and I'm sure they're forthcoming without any doubt. And I have to ask you about this: that even the Democrats right now are saying, "Please, Trump, save us." This is this limbo land, because you have Mamala as VP, totally a complete idiot. I'm sorry. The more I think about it, the dumbest person ever to be within the realm of power of the White House. And then you have him. I think even Democrats think, okay, this is scary. World leaders are. Macron invited Trump, not Biden, to the redoing of the Notre Dame Cathedral.
Yeah, no.
Your thoughts?
World leaders are rolling out the red carpet for Trump, but the damage that Biden did hasn't hit yet, because the way this pardon was written opens up the biggest can of worms, much bigger than most people realize. I did a lot of reading over the last few days about pardons, and even though this is being presented as a blanket pardon, he said, basically anything that may have been done over the past 11 years, he's absolved of. Well, as it turns out, you can't actually do a blanket pardon. A pardon has to be for known crimes. By giving Hunter a pardon for 11 years, which, as Jon Stewart said, is a very specific number. It's not rounded off. It's,
I love that, Lopkin. I never even thought of that. Yeah, it's like 10 years and 2 months.
Right.
At 12 o'clock. I mean, really? Oh, God.
Right. It's 11 years, which covered the years that he worked with Burisma. In giving him the pardon for those years, he has essentially admitted that he knew Hunter Biden was committing crimes while he was at Burisma and while Biden was vice president. So those crimes are now admitted to. What Biden did, what makes it worse for Biden, there's a lot of talk about whether or not he can pardon himself. Technically, from what I've seen, constitutionally, he can pardon himself. If he does, however, the political damage to the Democratic Party is beyond measure. It is so much worse than what he's done already. So I don't know if he's going to do that or not. If he does, the Democrats are not going to be able to recover from it for quite a while. But he also put Hunter Biden on the hot seat because of the pardon. The pardon was up till December 1st of this year, which means once the new Congress is seated, they can subpoena Hunter Biden to find out what went on with Burisma. He cannot deny the subpoena. If he does, they will arrest him and throw him in jail. The pardon does not cover that. He cannot take the fifth because he's in no danger of self-incrimination.
Whoa. That is an actual fact? No, that's amazing.
This is an actual fact.
Whoa! That's monumental.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So he cannot take the Fifth Amendment. It does not apply because he's not in any danger of self-incrimination. So if they subpoena him, which I'm pretty sure they're going to.
Of course they will, yeah.
He's going to have to appear, otherwise he's going to jail. And this isn't the Biden Justice Department. This Justice Department will enforce the arrest warrant and throw him in jail. He's going to have to testify, which means either A, he's going to have to reveal all of the crimes that his family has done, or he's going to be arrested for perjury.
Totally amazing. Again, but it gives back to what Obama says, never underestimate. We know how the rest ends. Another question, legacy. What is Obama's legacy? I'll preface it by saying that I respect Bill O'Reilly. He's written several great books. He has a book out right now ranking the presidents, and he ranks Obama, Freudian slip. He ranks Biden as the second worst president, and his rationale, and the worst president is Buchanan, who basically started the Civil War. He says that even like Hoover, other presidents, they might have, like Hoover, he did not create the Depression. He just didn't handle it correctly. His assertion, that is Bill O'Reilly's, is that all his problems are self-induced. I believe that's true, and I think it does position him as at least top 5 worst presidents. Your thoughts?
Yeah, he's definitely one of the worst presidents in history, and I think this pardon actually bumps him up that list. I think 100%. At this point, I think the only thing he could do to make it worse would be to pardon himself. And I found a quote by Jonathan Turley that I thought was absolutely hysterical. He said this back in 2020 when people were speculating that Trump was going to pardon himself for any crimes. And he said, politically, if Trump had pardoned himself, he could have decimated ISIS, solved climate change by building a carbon-eating border wall, and gotten world peace, and he still would have just been remembered for pardoning himself.
Well done. Yes. Look, I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility. I think Biden, even though he's obviously intellectually more than compromised, I think he's always been a political hack his whole life. And it's really funny. This guy, John Kelly, he's a commentator for Newsmax. He's hysterical. He's like, he got in by luck. He's always been an idiot. And I think he knows his legacy's gone. And at this point, I'm not so sure he gives a shit. It's a failure. He knows he failed.
I think he knows he failed, but I don't think he will pardon himself. Simply because, just as I talked about before, when you issue a pardon, it has to be for a crime. There has to be knowledge that a crime was committed. So if he pardons himself, he has to admit that he committed crimes. I don't know that he's got enough character to actually hold himself responsible for that and say, yes, I committed crimes. And quite frankly, I don't think Jill would let him do it because that's the end of her life.
What do you mean it's the end of her life?
Well, at this point, she's still a former first lady. She can still hang on to that. If he actually says, yes, I committed crimes and we covered it up, well, everybody knows she helped cover him up. That's it. She's got nothing left.
Good point. Very good point. I would agree with that. I do agree with that.
And
Yes,
and
I
quite
think the
and quite frankly, I think the damage to the Democratic Party, because they would be party to covering all of this up. I don't think there are certain people within the party that would make sure this didn't happen and that the word did not get out that he was actually a criminal.
I would put this in historical perspective. In my lifetime, two horrifically bad presidents, okay? And that is LBJ, right? Uh, and Jimmy Carter. I believe the damage that Joe Biden has done to the Democratic Party is exponentially worse than both of them.
Oh,
I think, and the other thing, to his own legacy, he was always Mr. Magoo, the bumbling idiot. People who had a brain knew he was corrupt, but the average moron thought he was Uncle Joe, Scranton Joe, lunch. No, this shreds that. This rips that to shreds. He's now a corrupt, which is you have to add. He would have been incompetent, senile president. Now he's incompetent, senile, corrupt. I don't know what else you want from a legacy. And he's attached, and the Democratic Party is attached to it, just like the Republicans were attached to Watergate. Yes, I believe that is correct.
Yes, Biden's legacy damaged the party possibly for another decade. Something else I came across in my research that I found very interesting was that one of the reasons that Biden chose to pardon Hunter this past Sunday. Remember, most presidents issue their pardons on their last day. He wanted to pardon Hunter prior to sentencing because, according to the law, you are not a convicted felon until
yes, that's actually true.
Until
Trump,
you are sentenced. Yes, which means all of the Democrats who are yelling that Trump is a convicted felon are wrong. Trump is not a convicted felon, and Biden just proved it.
Well done as always. And yes, and Trump will not be a convicted felon because those things will never see the light of day. What do you think of the raging Cajun, the glory days of the Democratic Party when they were mainstream with Clinton, not Hillary, obviously, but our buddy there, Mr. Clinton, right? Bill Clinton. He talks about he wants an audit of the $2 billion that dummy blew, and he also says and he's a Democrat. He's concurring with the with Carnivore Bites. It's almost irrevocable, the damage that, and he went back 8 years, which I don't think was done by accident. He's including Obama, the damage that has been done over the 8 years to the Democratic brand. And I do not agree with him. Well, I agree with him in terms of strategy, but not on policy. On this, I have to 100%. As we just talked, we don't want to beat a dead horse, but the damage has been monumental. And Ryan, forgot his first name, from Ohio, he lost his battle with J.D. Vance. Basically, he was saying he's trying to resurrect himself, saying that when he goes into a restaurant, bar, whatever, people look at him and go, You're a Democrat? And I don't think that's too uncommon.
No, again, the damage is incalculable at this point. And Carville had said something else that I have heard echoed by a number of former Democratic mega donors. And when I say former, they were still mega donors up until election day. So we're talking about very recently they went, well, if this is going to be the party, they can do it without my money. Kamala blew so much money for so little result. And in fact, Harris actually set an historic first. I mean, we've talked about her historic firsts before, being the first presidential candidate never to get a primary vote.
Mm-hmm.
But she is also the first presidential candidate to not flip a single county. There was no county that went for Trump in 2020 that now went for Harris. She didn't flip a single county. She made no headway, no progress on what Biden had done. And donors are furious. They are looking at it as they just wasted billions of dollars.
Yeah, I wish they did. By the way, I forgot the name of the long time. He's a lawyer, long time Democratic supporter. He's basically saying, "I'm out." That's on his. That's not my words. That's him. Yep. He's now an independent. Yes, I think it's you can't even. If it was a movie, you'd say, and especially the ending of the movie when the defeated candidate does. And her people, I don't think they even give a shit at this point. So yeah, go run with it, Mamala. When she does her drunk recap of the election, stunning from Hawaii. Dr. Lopkin, did you see that?
I did see that. I'm actually going to push back. There's been a lot of talk that she did this drunk. Prior to founding my current company, I worked in the pharmaceutical industry, fact-checking research on certain mental conditions, bipolar, depression, things like that. Watching that video, I don't think she was drunk. I don't think she was hungover. She actually shows all of the hallmarks of severe depression.
And wait, let me interject something. Because I was being facetious. You know, it's good theater. I actually do agree with you. Not about the diagnosis. That's more your expertise. But yes, when I looked at it, I didn't think drunk. I thought more. I'll use a term. I don't mean it. It was strung out on some kind of antidepressant, what it called, psychotropic drug, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it looked like she was. Yeah.
A lot of folks online have been speculating that she was drunk, she was plastered. Again, I don't think she was. I do think she is severely depressed, which quite frankly is amazing given that she made this video after spending 2 weeks relaxing in Hawaii.
Wait a second. You can move your venue. There is no relaxing. Because there's certain things, and here's certain things I believe in life. How do you like this, Dr. Lopkin? If you gave it your all, right? You did the greatest. You can look, even if you fail, you can look in the mirror. But there's nothing to hang your hat on. There's not like it was close. Oh, I got that. Or you made this big inroad. Something to hang your. Nothing, nada. The only thing that she can take to the bank, no pun intended, is you blew through more cash than a drunken sailor on steroids. There you go.
Yeah, no, there was nothing she did right during the entire campaign. But I mean, in all honesty, there was nothing she did right during her whole vice presidency. So why should that
magnified it?
Right? Why should that come as a surprise to anybody? You know,
well,
it's the same
they're
thing.
Lucky stars she's not in there.
Yes, I mean it's the same thing. I heard a lot of Democrats saying this after Joe Biden pardoned Hunter, saying, "Well, yeah, we knew he said that he wasn't going to, but we also knew he was lying." So, yeah.
Well, that goes to the whole credibility issue. And that's what the Democrats had. It might have been a bunch of bullshit, but you're an expert at marketing. My previous situation was that as well. And it's everything is branding. And one of the things about the Democrats is, yeah, they could f up a lot of stuff, but they were the party of integrity. Gone, goodbye. And to Mamala and Kamala, zero future. How do you like that? And I love your comment. So with our listeners, there's no books. Yeah, there'll be a book, but I could write a book. I mean, yeah, it's a coloring book. No one's going to read the effing book. No one gives a shit. She might do some, commencement addresses. That's a far cry from what she could have, might have, should have been. Your thoughts? Zero
Yeah.
political future.
No,
Zippo.
her political future is done. And in fact,
Gone.
a number of Democratic mega donors have said the way she ran this campaign disqualifies her from ever running for office again. Nobody is going to support her for office.
Ever.
Nobody is going to put up money.
Never.
If she wants to run another campaign, she's going to have to self-fund.
Yeah, and no one's going to vote for. No, there's certain things like Carter, and he was a much better candidate than her. You just go off into the wilderness. McGovern went off to there is, but even McGovern came back in '76. He didn't win, but he had some legs, okay? Because he's not a dumb person. I might not have agreed with him politically, but this is something for the history books. And another thing about the history books, we talked about The Biggest Losers, really good podcast. PBD is the name of the podcast. Some really good people on it. Not as good as us, of course, but he was talking about Biggest Losers, and I like your comment on this. He talked about, and I'll just group them all together. Obama. He also called him a coward for putting Clooney, who's another loser according to him, and two other losers. MSNBC, I believe, is on the chopping block, and The View. Your thoughts a lot there, but I would agree with that. Concur.
Yeah, all four.
And when I say losers, and the only thing before you comment is these are irrevocable losers. It's over.
Yeah, all four of those lost massively. And what's really funny is they're fighting among themselves as to whose fault it is. George Clooney has come out blasting Obama for making him the scapegoat for all of this.
It would grow a pair, dude.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The ratings for The View actually spiked right after the election because people wanted to see their heads explode. And after 3 days, they have hit, I believe, if not the lowest ratings, then close to the lowest ratings that show has ever had. Their audience is abandoning them because the audience is saying, wait a minute, you just spent 8 years lying to us about what was going on.
May I interject one thing before you go on? Hold on, because your point is worth a second look. People get this wrong. You did not. It's not about that the winds have changed and blah, blah, blah. No, it's about lying. Just like in personal relationships, once you lie, you can never really gain the full trust. So let's just assume, hear me out and then go for it because you're 100% correct. MSNBC was just toting the party line and it was straight down the middle and it was factual. They'd live for another day. In fact, they may gain an audience. But when you lie against Russiagate and this and that, people just say, okay, I can't watch this anymore because you lied to me. You betrayed my trust. Go ahead.
Yes, that's exactly what happened. And that, like MSNBC, there was a hysterical article in Hollywood Reporter how they were saying, well, no, MSNBC actually isn't up for sale because online there are all sorts of rumors, and I stress that these are rumors. There is no fact behind them. Elon Musk is spreading the rumor just to have some fun, but it is just a rumor that Musk is looking at buying MSNBC. So Hollywood Reporter put out this whole article how Musk can't buy MSNBC because it's not really for sale. It's just being spun off into its own company. Well, guess what? It's being spun off into a public company. Anybody that wants to sell their shares to Elon Musk, they're welcome to. You know, he could pick up shares probably for pennies on the dollar after this
I
debacle.
I love your pennies on the dollar. Bill O'Reilly, who we just referred to previously, he knows the media. Basically, he goes, they'll give it away to the brand is so done that though you buy it for like $10. There you go.
Well, the brand is not going to be a problem because since it's going to be part of another company, I'm pretty sure they're actually not going to be able to call themselves MSNBC anymore because they won't be part of NBC.
Okay,
So-
your point. No, your point is true, but that's a lot. Like if you bought Nike, they don't really have factories. You're buying their equity, their brand equity, and you just articulated the point. There is no brand equity. Let's say if a company bought them, you can't get rid of the name MSNBC fast enough.
No, they'd have to get rid of the name MSNBC. But remember, MSNBC is not being spun off into its own company. It's being spun off into a company with USA Network, E Network, the Golf Channel. There's 6 or 7 different cable
but that's
networks.
The crown jewel. That's the big cool.
No, it's not. Well, that's just it. It's not. Somebody could buy this company for the other media. They'll have They'll have MSNBC. I don't think they'd get rid of it, but we've seen this. We've seen this over and over again. The most valuable part of any cable network is its carriage agreements. MSNBC still has carriage agreements with just about every cable provider and most of the online streaming services. So they can change the brand, they can change the direction. Heck, they don't even have to report news anymore. They can make it a documentary channel. They can.
Whoa. Dr. Lopkin. Report the news. They haven't been doing that.
Well, they haven't done that for,
I'm kidding.
for 12 years, you know.
There you go.
But I mean officially, you know.
I got you. I'm just kidding with you. But it is funny. You talk about liberal bias, and I don't know if I saw it from the same, YouTube broadcast or episode, but I did see, and it's really great entertainment. Just basically the timeline of traditional meters, CBS, ABC, NBC, melting down. Your comments, was it hysterical? Bubbly at first, like, it's gonna be a fantastic night here. We're in New York and blah blah blah. Go for it.
Yeah, the YouTube channel I saw these on is called Clinton Jaws. I've never watched this guy before. But what he did was he took election night coverage and edited it down to about half an hour. So you're talking about 14 hours or so of footage edited down to 30 minutes. And watching the meltdown, first of all, is hysterical. But the denial was absolutely amazing. How they kept swearing, it's a really close election when Harris.
No, there's a path to victory.
Right.
There's a path to the moon too.
Yeah, they kept saying, but it's still really close. It's like, no, it's not. It was never close. At no time during election night was Harris anywhere near victory. And
no.
They kept saying, it's like, well, what's really good is there's really high turnout on the college campuses. So Harris is going to do. No, Harris got her butt kicked on college campuses.
Which gets to the whole point of the damage that's been done. Again, the youth vote, you could almost take that for granted. Back to the 1960s, the only thing that changed, maybe in the 80s, it went back a little bit to Reagan or the Republic. But you can take that to the bank. Yeah, just a totally hysterical. I encourage anyone who's listening to us to watch it. It's absolutely hysterical. But what's not hysterical, Dr. Lopkin, is the New World Order with Trump. He's basically told Hamas and others, release those hostages or they'll be held to bay. You have Trudeau kissing his ring. You have Marcolin from France basically inviting him and not Biden. It is essentially a Trump presidency, maybe not officially, but it's on. Correct.
Yeah, and I've actually heard a lot of Democrats say that Biden basically abdicated the position and just gave it to Trump on election day. You have Trump coming out and saying he's going to put 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada if they don't help us secure the borders. And at first, Mexico's president was all indignant, and then she talked to Trump, and all of a sudden they're securing the southern border. And Trudeau came down to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring. Trump told him, Canada's been taking advantage of us economically. We're going to have to fix this trade deficit. And Trudeau came out and said, we can't fix that trade deficit. If we do, it'll destroy the Canadian economy. So basically, he came out and admitted that the U.S. is propping up Canada. That was when Trump said, well, then we can make Canada the 51st state. You could be governor.
You know what I find fascinating, and it's going to really rattle more heads than have already been rattled, is when you look, the 4 years might have been good for this country, even though there's severe damage, because people are going to say, holy shit, that's how effed up these things really were. Does that make any sense to you, Dr. Locke?
It makes perfect sense, because that is actually what flipped the election to Trump. That actual facts started getting out. Biden won in... There's no question. We've seen poll after poll of this. Biden won in 2020 primarily because they stepped on social media and didn't allow negative information to get out. You had the Democratic-controlled media spreading misinformation. And there were poll after poll of Biden voters and Biden supporters that said if they had known about the Hunter laptop and that it was not a Russian hoax, that it was real, they would not have voted for Biden. Well, guess what? There's also now been proven that, yes, there was an enormous amount of fraud in the 2020 election, because you had 20 million Democratic voters who had never voted in any election before. They didn't come out for the superstar Obama. They didn't come out in midterms. They never came out, but they came out to vote for Biden. And then
they're kind of missing now.
Yes, and all of a sudden in 2022, they were nowhere to be found. And this year, those votes were gone. They didn't go to Trump. They didn't go to Harris. They didn't go anywhere. So 20 million votes suddenly materialized for Biden that never existed before and never existed again.
Gee, I wonder how that happened.
Yeah.
Maybe that's another episode. How do you like that? Speaking of episodes, our listeners can contribute to the show, can't they, Dr. Lopkin?
Yes, they can. They can comment on specific episodes by going to the Exvadio YouTube channel or the Exvadio Rumble channel, and you can comment directly to us at xvadio.com/connect or the Carnivore Radio Facebook page. Messages there. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you're thinking. What were your impressions of what went on during the election and since? And of course,
Dr. Lopkin, thank you very much. And you've earned, of course, proven your title as the doctor. Excellent show. And we'll be back next week, correct?
we will. And of course, before next week, you can listen to all of the Carnivore podcasts at xvadio.com, the Carnivore Radio website, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech.
See you next week.
We'll see you then.